Welcome to episode 7 of the Birmingham Sportscast. I'm Ethan, your host, joined by Grant and Barron's manager, Justin Jirschele. I'm probably saying that wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Jirschele.
Jirschele. Okay. Justin Jirschele. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, guys.
So, what you been up to during these crazy times?
Not a whole lot. Just trying to stay as safe as possible. Spending a lot of good quality time with my family. We have a 7-month-old daughter. Just trying to use all this time that normally I'd be on the road for just being with the family and being as close as we can. And like I said, staying safe.
Yeah, always a good time. You up there in Wisconsin right now?
Yes. Yep. We're up in Wisconsin. The weather's starting to warm up, so that's good.
That's always good. Man, it's raining down here today. Typical Alabama weather, but sunshine. But I mean, let's just get right into it, man. First thing a bunch of people probably know you by is you're so young, and I was reading a New York Times Magazine article that they did a couple years back on you. It was a great piece. It was detailing about like how your managerial career almost came about. I just want to dive right into that. But right before we get into that, we got to talk about your pro career. You play for the White Sox in the system pretty much everywhere in the minors, from rookie ball all the way up to Charlotte. What was your time like overall with the White Sox as a player?
It was awesome. It was an opportunity for me to play at the next level. And the White Sox, I was very fortunate enough that the White Sox gave me that opportunity. I've always, since day one, felt like I've owed it to them because, I went undrafted, obviously, in the rounds of the MLB draft. And the White Sox were the team that called after the draft to give me that opportunity to try to advance and play at the next level. And I was fortunate enough to be able to play for a couple of years there and make it as high as AAA. I was happy with everything. Obviously, the dream is always to make it to the major leagues, right? But it didn't happen, and got my coaching career started at a young age, which was, I think, beneficial. And again, owe the White Sox all the gratitude there for giving me the opportunity to start my coaching career.
Yeah, what was that? I want to elaborate on a little bit because a lot of people obviously don't even make it to the minors. What was it? The process of kind of like getting the call from the draft to rookie ball, kind of like that. Not many people speak about it, during that, from the time you get drafted to your rookie ball. What was that like? Like, did they have you do any certain, like, I don't know, just elaborate on that if you can.
Yeah. So whether you're in high school or in college and you're draft eligible, teams will reach out. They'll send letters, evaluation forms. They'll come see you play in person. They'll ask for video. They'll get their own video, things like that, just to kind of get to know you as a person and as a player as deep as they can. So for me, it was, kind of watching the draft a little bit and then, getting a little upset as my name wasn't called. And honestly, kind of towards the end of the draft, and then when it became over, was kind of like, okay, here we go. I guess I'm onto the real world. Got to figure out what I want to do and go to Plan B in a sense. And then the next day was when the White Sox called and asked me if I'd sign as a free agent. Obviously, didn't hesitate there to say yes. And I believe it was 2 days later, I was flown to Arizona for our mini camp. We had like a 6-day mini camp down there just to kind of get acclimated with some of our coaches and coordinators and, get into the facility and get all the paperwork and all those sorts of things sorted out and get down to the nit-grit of baseball. And then after that week we were down there, I flew up to Great Falls, Montana into our rookie ball system. And played there at our affiliate for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, and if what is it? You played 184 games over your minor league career, retired at 25, and went straight into managing. And I was reading that article, and it said that basically, I forgot exactly who, but one of your coaches was like, your mind is way more valuable to this club than your playing ability. I want to say the quote was something along the lines of, the guy has the biggest mind, but not as much talent as everybody else, something along those lines. And it was very interesting. I read that you were basically given an offer to go coach while you were still playing or something like that. So could you elaborate, like going from playing one night and then basically deciding over that short time to go to Great Falls and be the hitting coach there?
Yeah, so I was actually playing in Birmingham at the time, in 2015. I believe it was early May, towards the middle of May. And, I was a utility player, so I was, playing 1-2 days a week, just kind of filling in for guys that needed that off day, or, some guys that were a little banged up injury-wise that needed some time. So, and I had already knew that coaching, if I was given that opportunity, was something that I would maybe want to get into, to stay in the realm of professional baseball and continue a career there. So, I was kind of prepared to do that. I just wasn't necessarily prepared like in the middle of the season, right? So it definitely surprised me. I wouldn't say it caught me off guard, because in our game, anything can happen at any given point. So I wouldn't say it caught me off guard, but I was definitely very surprised at the timing of it. So, when they asked me, I took maybe a day, if that. I had pretty much kind of already knew what I was going to do just by the excitement that I felt when they asked me and approached me on it. But, just kind of took some time to decompress a little bit and talk to my family and talk to my then girlfriend, now wife, about it, and just kind of, go through the options and see how everything laid out and what the future would look like, as much as possible, and realize that, okay, this is the right thing to do here at my age, to kind of kick the tires a little bit on my coaching career. And again, very fortunate enough that at my age that I was at, I think it was 25 at the time, that they would offer me that job. It was too hard to turn down. And definitely, you still have I had a little bit of sadness saying, okay, this is it. But I think I made it as a player. But I think it made it easier knowing that I went out on my own terms and said, okay, I've made it this far, and had some extremely memorable times and moments, and made it further than a lot of people can say they did. And let's get going on this coaching path.
Yeah, and it's definitely panned out here. And Grant, I'll get you in a second to jump in, because I know you want to talk. But so far through your managerial career, you've coached at Great Falls as a hitting coach. Well, not managerial, your coaching career. My bad. You've coached at Great Falls as a hitting coach, then went to Kannapolis as a hitting coach, correct? And then managed Kannapolis for 2 years, Winston-Salem a year, and then now you're with Birmingham. And I was looking at the what you did over there at Kannapolis. You took them to their first playoff berth since 2009, whenever you were there. And funny enough, was it your first ever series as a manager at Kannapolis, a full-time manager, was a sweep. So how did
we
that
got
feel?
swept? Make sure you clarify, we got swept.
Got swept. How did that feel? Just what was going through your mind after that first series, after getting swept?
A lot. Obviously it was. There's a lot going through your mind, regardless of the outcome of those first 4 games, right? Being a young manager and just being a manager in general, there's constantly things going through your mind on and off the field, regardless of what you're doing at that given moment. You're constantly thinking about ways you can be better, ways we can better our team, and just little things like that. So, but definitely losing the first 4 definitely added a little bit more sense of urgency in the thought process of, okay, we got to turn this thing around quickly here. And again, you play 140 games. It's just staying on that even keel, and reminding our guys, hey, this is a long year. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Nobody remembers how you start, which unfortunately a lot of people do remember that we got swept our first series. But we ended up turning it around and having a good year, and a lot of guys broke out and got moved up to Winston-Salem and continued their careers. And a couple of those guys have reached the big leagues as well. And that ultimately that's what it's about. So it was definitely not the start that we were looking for. But again, it's about these players and how they get better. And that's exactly what they did that year. So we're very happy at the end of it.
What's it kind of been like watching guys like Luis Robert, Nick Madrigal, guys like that go through the system really quickly, and then a guy like Luis Robert have a big-time contract with the White Sox this year?
It's exciting. It's exciting. I think from top to bottom, we have a lot of quality talent in our organization, and high character people as well. So it's just exciting to be a part of it and kind of see them firsthand along their journey to Chicago, right? So again, just to be a part of it and have the opportunity to put some of these names in the lineup every night that I've been given. It's special to see some of these guys and their tools and what they bring to the table each and every day, and just see them grow as individuals and as players. So again, it's just really exciting that they're White Sox and they're part of this group and can hopefully eventually help us win some games in Chicago.
How have you stayed in touch with your guys through this crazy time, made sure that they're still getting ready for the season if and when that does happen?
Yeah, so nowadays with all the technology that we have, we've had some Zoom meetings on the staff front. We've had some Zoom meetings with players. You try to reach out via text messages or phone calls, whatever it may be. In today's day and age, a lot of these guys, they know exactly what they need to do to keep their bodies ready. They're at a higher level of baseball and physically that they've gotten to that point in their lives where in their careers where they know what it's going to take to stay ready, even in uncertain times like this. Just continue to remind these guys, hey, we don't know what's going to happen here down the road. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later we get this thing going again, but until then, just stay as ready as you possibly can in these uncertain times and do whatever it takes so that when the bell does ring, you're ready to go.
We know that, like, with the minor leagues, you don't really know your roster until the season starts. So what's it like preparing for a season through spring training and getting ready when you don't exactly know who you're going to have on your team? And then going off of that, do you have a say kind of in who ends up making your roster at the end of spring training?
Yeah, so you get to spring training and everybody's there, right? So we have every single player that's in our organization from top to bottom that's in the same facility. So again, kind of like what we talk about. We're all in this thing together. It's a cliche, right? But it's so true in the realm of a baseball organization that it's all tied together, and we know that we're the feeder system in the minor leagues, and so regardless of if you have a handful of guys that you think may be with you and they end up being in Winston-Salem or they end up being in Charlotte, whatever it may be, they're still our guys. So regardless of what the roster shapes out to be at the end of spring training, once we break and get to our affiliate, whether it be Birmingham or Winston-Salem, for me, I know what my job is and what it entails and what I need to do each and every day. So, that's kind of the forefront there of, what it entails and getting these guys ready to go and ready to play every single night. And ultimately, doing everything we can to help achieve them reach their ceiling as individuals and continue to move forward in the right direction.
I want to piggyback off that real quick because obviously you got guys moving up and down in your organization, but flip it over and your opponents, same thing with them. All their players, you might play one guy one night and then never see him again. What goes into preparing against your opponents, because you have that movement, constant movement, so you never know exactly. There's no set roster, so.
Right. So, again, I think in today's day and age with the technology that we have, there's getting to be more and more scouting, advanced scouting and things like that to where we can kind of have an idea of what we're looking at each and every night as far as, the starting pitcher that we're facing, or, our starting pitcher, the 9 guys that he's facing in the other team's lineup, and what he's kind of looking at, their strengths and weaknesses, right? So, again, with everything that's been brought into the game on the analytical side, technology side, and advanced scouting, it's just continuing to grow, and they're just more tools in our toolbox to help us ultimately help these guys be prepared as best as they possibly can to go out there and have the most success.
So obviously you're new to Birmingham this year, but you're not the only one. We've got a couple new coaches, Charlie Romero, Devin DeYoung, Hyun Kim. Have you worked with those guys before, or are they completely new to the White Sox system?
Yeah, so Hyun Kim was our trainer last year in Winston-Salem, and he was in Great Falls the year before that when they won the championship up there. So obviously had a full year of working with Hyun Kim. He's a great athletic trainer. He's a pleasure to work with and keep guys ready to go and active on the field. Charlie Romero and Devin DeYoung, both of those guys are somewhat new to the organization. Charlie was in the Dominican League last year down in the Dominican with our academy down there. He's a tremendous hitting coach. He knows the game inside and out. He's been around the game for a long, long time. Definitely looking forward to picking his brain and him being there to help with everything, really, other than not just hitting on the hitting aspect of things, but just being another great baseball mind to help us out. And Devin DeYoung, another good baseball mind, a young baseball mind. He's had some time with the Red Sox and some independent leagues. He played at a high level himself. So just some great baseball people that we're continuing to grow as coaches with, and again, ultimately help our players each and every day get better.
What about the Richard Dodson, Tim Rodmaker, who have already been up in Birmingham? What's your relationship like with those guys through the brief time that you've been the manager of the Barons, and then even before that?
Yeah, so Tim Rodmaker, I had a few stints with him. He was actually the strength and conditioning coach in Birmingham in 2015 when I hung the cleats up there. So obviously have some time spent with him as a player and as well as a coach on the coaching side of things, whether it be instructional league or spring training. So another great guy. Does a tremendous job in the weight room and the conditioning and agility and calisthenics and all those sorts of things on his front. He's a tremendously gifted human being, and he does a really, really good job keeping our guys ready to go and active in that aspect. And Richard Dotson, obviously everybody knows what he was, a tremendous long-time tenured career as a pitcher in the major leagues. And really, I can't wait to pick his brain on the pitching side of things because he's seen it all, right? He's been through the ringer with his playing career and obviously had tremendous amount of success there. And he's been coaching for a long time as well. So just a really, really gifted human being on the side of pitching and baseball. And again, he's seen it all and excited to work with him when the time comes.
You talked about picking the mind of those guys. Do you pick the mind of your father, who's a third base coach with the Royals, a lot too?
Absolutely. It was one thing that he taught me at a young age was, I remember him saying, if you ever get into coaching, you make sure you continue to learn and you continue to grow, asking questions and just watching the game. And that was one thing that I made sure I did a lot, even in my playing career. Those days when I wasn't in the lineup, which was more so than when I was in the lineup. So I had to, he said, go ahead and manage along with your manager in your head, learn from what he does and what you would maybe do differently or just watch the way, the guy in the other dugout manages his team and their game. So you're continuing to learn, right? And I think in any career, once you get stagnant and you think you know it all, it's going to come down even harder on you, and you're going to find out real quickly that you got a lot to learn. So just continuing to learn, like I said, each and every day, asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask those questions that you think may be, quote unquote, a dumb question, because that's ultimately the only way you're going to learn and grow as a manager or a coach.
Yeah, and talking about growing as a manager, I can't remember exactly. I read so many articles, but it said in one article, it said that you and your dad actually hop on the phone after every game, and you go through his game and you go through your game. How does that relationship with your dad, that he's a major league third base coach, help you, and vice versa, you help him?
Yeah, so kind of in the sense of, just like I talked about with Dot, my dad's been through it all. He's seen thousands of games in the minor leagues, and a ton of games obviously in the big leagues as well. So, there's going to be things that come up every day for me on my front that, maybe I haven't ever seen before. I'm kind of thrown off guard by it a little bit, and the game can speed up on me, and maybe I made a decision that I thought, okay, that probably wasn't the right decision there. Maybe I could have gone with this, or and I'll write things down for him, because I know pretty much every night when something comes up that I haven't seen before, he's probably seen it, right? So just kind of pick his brain on, hey, when this happened to you, what did you do? Or even watching the other manager, something that came up for him and the decision that he made, I would talk about something like that, because then we continue to learn and grow as individuals and as coaches, because, this game, every single night, it's a different ball game. There's going to be things that happen that maybe didn't happen for 2 weeks, or maybe you hadn't seen in a few years. And that's the beauty of the game. It's not the same outcome every night, obviously, and the dynamic of the game in the middle innings and things like that can change the outcome. So it's just continuing to pick his brain and learn from him, and just trust in your gut instincts in any given moment, and moving on with it and going with it.
Obviously, as a manager, you have tough decisions that you have to make sometimes in a game. Pull a pitcher, change a hitter. What goes through your mind when you have to make a decision like that could win or lose a game depending on how you make that choice?
I think for me, it's about going with your gut feel, right? You sit and you talk it over with your coaching staff, and whether it's a pitching change, you talk it over with your pitching coach on what he's thinking. Pick his brain a little bit in that moment, right? Because we're all in this thing together. We're all pulling from the same rope here, trying to accomplish the same goal any given night. So just kind of getting a feel for what he thinks and what I think, and kind of collaborating those ideas and those thoughts, and trying to reach the best outcome we possibly can that we think is going to help us in that given moment. And likewise on the hitting side of things, hey, talk to the hitting guy. I'm thinking about pinch hitting here, or should we pinch hit here, or would you pinch hit here? Just different questions like that, and just again picking brains and seeing what those guys, because those guys have been around. Talking Charlie Romero and Richard Dotson, those guys have been around baseball a long time too. So I know dang well that they're managing along with me. It's not just they're just focused in on just their pitching side or just their hitting side. We're in this thing together. So again, it's just collaborating with them and going with what we feel is right, whether it turns out in a positive way or not for us. We'll talk about it after the game and kind of discuss things that we maybe could have done better, or maybe tried that maybe would have given us a better outcome, but you never know in the moment. So in that moment, in particular, is just going with your gut feel and what you feel is the best way to give you the best opportunity to win.
What are your kind of goals, expectations for your time in Birmingham, however long that is? And ultimately, whenever we get started, what do you want to get out of the Barons as a team, not each individual player?
Really, it's the same thing. It's the same thing every single year. My job is to come out, make sure these guys have a structured plan and idea of what we're going to accomplish each day when we get to the ballpark, and that they continue to grow. They continue to learn and learn the game inside and out, as individuals, as a team, and continuing to grow as far as, like I said earlier, what it takes for them to reach their ultimate capacity ceiling. and get better each and every day, coming to the ballpark with that mindset of, knowing the things that they have to learn and work on as individuals. And ultimately, you hope that some wins come along with that. The development side of things comes first and foremost for me and first and foremost for the Chicago White Sox as well. Because we're in this thing to help develop these players that can hopefully help us win ball games in Chicago. So first and foremost for me, it's about getting these guys their work in each and every day, making sure that they're staying ready to go, locked and loaded, and again, ultimately hoping that they continue to move up the ladder.
Got anything, Ethan?
Oh yeah, I got tons, bro. I'm gonna go quick.
All right, you go.
I was letting you get through your questions.
Yeah, that's all mine.
All right, so I got a bunch of just random, questions. Everything from baseball to lifestyle. But I just want to start off with, you're going to be back in Birmingham at Regions Field, beautiful stadium. What are you most looking forward to outside of Regions? That's an intriguing question, I find.
I think just kind of getting to know the area of Birmingham a little bit. I didn't spend a whole lot of time there as a player. So, and when I was there, it was, back to the hotel and back to the ballpark, just kind of back and forth. Never really experienced anything else in Birmingham, never had an off day there or anything like that. So, really trying to kind of get to know Birmingham a little bit deeper and see what it's all about.
Yeah, you're going to love the food, I can tell you that much. There's great spots downtown. And piggybacking off Regions Field being a really beautiful stadium, what is your favorite stadium that you've played in or managed in ever?
That's a tough one. I think I'm a little bit probably biased to our organization, but I would say Regions Field and BB&T Ballpark, both BB&T ballparks, because the one in Winston-Salem is named BB&B Ballpark as well. So those three are at the top for me, just because it's our home stadiums, right? And also they're just phenomenal facilities, and coming to the ballpark every day to a facility like those three it's hard to describe as a player, as a coach, the excitement that it brings, through the grind of a minor league season when it's every single day, right? And now we threw another one in Kannapolis, a brand new stadium there. So we're extremely lucky as an organization to have 4 phenomenal facilities to go to work every day.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you were here on a Firework Friday night back in the day, but I don't know if even they did those back then. But those are awesome at Regions. And then moving on, what has been have you? Obviously, there's got to be some pranks that have gone on, at least one. So what's one prank that you've seen that's gone on that you found funny or not funny?
So there's one that kind of, I wouldn't say universal, but I've heard a lot about it. And I saw it, this was probably 3-4 years ago now. Somebody did something to one of the guys. They took their wallet or something as a joke. And the other guy retaliated by putting his street clothes in the shower. So, obviously you come to the ballpark in your street clothes and you change into your baseball uniform, and then at the end of the night you shower up and go back into your street clothes and head home. So it makes it a little difficult heading home when those street clothes are laying on the floor of the shower soaking wet. And I've also heard of guys even going a little bit further and putting those clothes after they're wet into the ice chest to freeze them up a little bit, harden them up. So that's probably one of the top ones that I've heard about that I think is pretty darn good.
That would not be fun. And then what is it? So as a player, did you have any, or even as a manager, do you have any pregame music that you listen to?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, again, the grind of the everyday, throughout the course of the season, you play 140, hopefully 140 plus games in the minor leagues. You try to keep it light at all times and not get stagnant. So, it's always throwing in different genres of music. And as baseball people, we're very superstitious for the most part. So it's staying with the routine of, okay, we won last night. We listened to country before the game. Let's play country again. And that's just going off of, as a coaching staff, my last few years. But I know the players. We kind of have the starting pitcher for that night. He plays his music, so it changes up a lot because guys listen to different genres. But again, we're very superstitious, so the pregame music gets changed at all times. But there's always a few songs, and then you have your victory song. There's every year that I've been in it, there's always that one team. That team that year has a victory song, and you hope that comes to light a little bit earlier in the season than later. Right, because that means you're winning games, and it's getting to become more of a consistent feel, and you're hearing that song a lot, and hopefully by the end of the summer you're sick of that song.
Yeah, and what is it? I don't know if have you seen the Barons jerseys?
Yeah,
some of them. Okay, so you got like Magic City, you got Pinstripes, you got too many to name. But what's your favorite, and what are you looking forward most to putting on out of all of those?
I tell you what, I really like. They didn't have the Magic City when I played there in 15. I really like that one, but I also really like the red. I think that's a really clean look with the white pinstripes at home. But the whole uniform set itself is top tier. So looking forward to putting them on again, whether it's the red, white, or black, or the gray even.
I do have to say, what is it? The red and the Magic City are my top two. I mean, the red just pops, and in the Magic City, it almost like so subtly encompasses what the city is about, Yep. But that's, I think, a little biased probably. Barons, one of the best stadiums in the minors, some of the best jerseys in the minors. But and going way back, guy from Wisconsin, were you a Milwaukee Brewers fan growing up?
I think I was more so just a baseball fan in general. I get this question a lot because obviously I grew up kind of in baseball in a sense, right, in the minor leagues with my dad. So him being with the Royals kind of, I think, threw that wrinkle in as far as being a Brewer fan. Did I cheer for the Brewers? Absolutely. I wanted them to win. I think it helped them being in the National League, the Royals being in the American League. But once my dad got to AAA and, being able to see a lot of those guys that he coached at some point along the way, all of a sudden we're watching them on ESPN at night hitting homers or, making a good play and in the highlights. That kind of brought me a little bit more towards the Royals. But again, being in Wisconsin, what game was on every night? It was the Brewers, right? So it definitely made me a Brewer fan in a sense of I was watching them almost every single night because it was the only live game on TV. We didn't have the MLB network and MLB.TV, things like that, to be able to watch the Royals or, once my dad's game started getting streamed, I really started getting into those, watching those on the computer and things like that. But yeah, definitely rooted for the Brewers, being the home state team there.
And piggybacking off what you just said about the Royals, did you go to the World Series?
I did. So actually in 14, I was down there the whole time. My mom and I, we were in Chicago. They finished the regular season in Chicago. They actually clinched with like 2 or 3 games left in the regular season, the wild card. We weren't even going to go. And, the more we thought about it, we were like, this is once in a lifetime opportunity to see a playoff game, much less see your husband / dad coaching third base at it. We were like, we're down here in Chicago. We got to go. So we got in the car and met my dad back in Kansas City for the game, and the rest was history. We stayed till Game 7 of the World Series.
That's awesome. That's definitely a dream. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for me. Grant, you got anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Justin. Hope the family's doing good. Stay safe, and look forward to having you in Birmingham soon.
Can't wait, guys. Thanks again for having me. Stay safe and go Barons.